3, 2, 1.
You ready?
Listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We are the Real Pineapple. This is Hunter, and I'm here with Scott. Scott, how you doing, sir?
Doing so good so far. I'm ahead in fantasy, so I'm doing good. It's gonna be a roller coaster, but within the next hour, I could be losing. So, riding the high.
And I'm here with the man who is currently losing to me in fantasy. I'm here with Colin.
I hate
how
you.
doing,
That's
sir?
how I'm doing.
Sorry, I had to start that off. I didn't remind him.
No one cares
All right,
about
well,
fantasy.
Now we got that
Let's move
hostility.
on.
Okay, agree to disagree. But now that we got that hostility out of the way, we are talking about Thor Ragnarok, which I gotta say, I'm very curious to get your guys' thoughts on. So, I went and saw this in IMAX 3D. Me and my girl went and saw it last night, actually. So it's
Yeah,
very
damn,
fresh.
stud. Congrats.
Yeah, oh, thank you.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What can I say? She's
Getting
lovely.
your DS on the reg.
All right,
Some of us don't have that luxury.
I'm just gonna tell her not to listen to this podcast in particular, and definitely tell her not to let her.
That was listen, friend of Hunter's. That was a shot in the dark. So you may SSD, you may not. You know, it's real Schrodinger's S and the D, if you will. Little PNT throwback for you.
There you go. Well done. Good job digging yourself out of that hole. But guys, oh, Jesus Christ! All right, so I have to say, we always make the joke. It's time for Hunter to get on his knees and S that Marvel D, as it were. I hated Thor: The Dark World. I think it's the second or third worst thing that Marvel's done. Right there with Inhumans and Iron Fist.
And Dark World's like part of the MCU, so that's actually saying a lot, right?
Yeah, like I hated Thor: The Dark World. I thought it was just a genuine piece of garbage. It's a really bad movie. So going into this one, you guys aren't big like comic book readers. You didn't grow up with like the comics like I did. Wouldn't you say that Thor is kind of just the most, so far the most meh Avenger? I mean, it seems like I kind of have developed everyone else, but they can't find a place for him. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, I mean his first movies were kind of weak, I guess. Is what you're saying. I get that.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely tried to develop him a little bit. I feel like he was the first movies to come out, but I think that they could have been stronger for sure. Okay,
because fuck, they even gave Hawkeye kids. I mean, like they've developed, the Archer more, and they've developed as he's called in here, the Lord of Thunder, which is a great joke. But I was curious what they're going to do with this. So they went a really different direction. This almost feels like an old, like kind of classic rock superhero, in the sense of how it's shot, in like the colors.
Dwayne Johnson.
Wait, what?
Dwayne Johnson.
Wait, classic.
That's classic. The Rock.
Classic.
Okay. Oh god. Okay. Sorry.
Wow, I want to throw something at you, but they went a really different direction with this, and I don't know. I will say I enjoyed it, but I may not enjoy it as much as most people will. I will say, Scott, talk to us here. What's the plot for this movie?
So basically opens up, and we're just doing full spoilers here, because
you know what I
think so.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, so basically it opens as Odin dying, and that kind of sets the stage for events taking place. The goddess of death is introduced. What is her name here? Let me see.
Hela.
She's hella fine.
That was good.
So basically, she's introduced as somebody who is, trying to take over. Thor's like, no.
No, don't do that.
Hijinks ensue. No, it's definitely a battle for Asgard, but that's not really where most of this movie takes place. One of the settings here is this kind of like trash world, basically, which is where you get kind of a lot of the throwback, kind of 80s throwback in here. A lot of bright colors, kind of dated music. Not necessarily a bad way, but you got your 80s music. And so basically it's Thor's return from this world to go and try to save Asgard and prevent this crazy goddess of death played by Kate Blanchett from destroying everything.
Which is crazy that they got her for this, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And she still got
Idris Elba too. I mean, just they got good people in this, and then of course, I'm assuming you're getting to the part where they meet the Grand Master Scott, who was one of my favorite characters,
right?
Played by Jeff Goldblum. He was incredible in this.
Yeah, he's basically this like the ruler of this, like I love.
Yeah, just stick with Trash World. That's cool.
Just like a big like dumpster, like just there's literally just junk falling from the sky in this world, which I thought was kind of a cool creative thing that they did. And Jeff Goldblum plays this really surprise, like eccentric.
He plays Jeff Goldblum.
He plays Jeff Goldblum exactly. And throughout like one of the parts of him of Thor being trapped in this world is he has to fight his way out, basically, and Jeff Goldblum being the Grand Master, he kind of adds his own spice to it.
So Colin, we talked about this in one of our trailer reviews for this. We wanted to see Hulk vs. Thor, and the big selling point was Hulk vs. Thor. I don't know about you, man, but the battle they had, for me, seeing that on a big IMAX 3D screen, that was alone worth the what, $16 I think?
Oh, it's like over 20 in Seattle now. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
is it
it's crazy?
Really?
It's like $21. I was like, it's the price of the Blu-ray, like when it comes out to go see it in 3D IMAX. It's nuts. Yeah.
That's I'm trying not to use that word, but that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. I agree with you though. So this is what I have to say about that though, is that okay? So it panned out awesome, like the way the fight scene played out. Like I loved it. It was funny. Kind of one of the things I really like about kind of the tone of the whole movie is that it's pretty funny. It does not take itself seriously at all. And yeah, that was a big payoff. But when he first goes to the trash planet or trash world, whatever we dubbed it, Scott.
Yes.
When he first gets there and he gets taken prisoner, it's like immediately you're like, okay, this is like it's all out of Gladiator. We've seen that he's gonna go fight in the big Coliseum here coming up soon, and then it was just like. I think the fact that I knew that the payoff was Hulk, it kind of ruined that whole scene for me, like that whole stretch of the movie for me, because I was just waiting for it. I was just like, okay, I know what's coming up next. Let's just get to it already. And Jeff Goldblum kind of saved that part of the movie for me because he was just really funny. I was just like, oh, look at Jeff Goldblum just being in a Marvel movie, being hilarious. So I loved that. But yeah, the payoff, you have to see that on the big screen. And I think that was the main point you were making, Hunter. It's so awesome seeing it in 3D. And yeah, so I agree with you there.
Yeah, I definitely love that climax of that world. But I totally agree with you. I feel like we saw so much in the trailers, and we talk about this a lot. And even after that, There's a scene where Thor and Banner are in the spacecraft, and Banner can't remember what happened in the fight, and they're like, "Oh, did we fight?" He's like, "Yeah, we fought." He's like, "Oh, who won?" He's like, "Oh." Thor's like, "Yeah, I won." And he's like, "Nah, that doesn't sound right." And that was really funny, but I feel like because I saw that they played that a lot in the trailer, it just didn't hit, and that's what I feel like kind of was a small sample size of that particular world, and him being trapped on that world is like, it's like Jeff Goldblum. I didn't expect to be like that, and it kind of came out of nowhere, him being like just being Jeff Goldblum and being ridiculous and having all these little quirks in the way that he talks, and like it just was perfect, but it was unexpected, and that's what I like about movies, is being surprised and like things unexpected happening. But yeah, it's like even the fight scene was not that long. I felt like that it was kind of squashed pretty quickly. You kind of learn some things are revealed in that fight scene that are played out later in this movie, having to do with Thor's powers. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty epic. I wish it would have been longer.
I don't know, man. I think for me, I felt that I got what I wanted. You know, and I know everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, of course you'd say this." I got what I wanted kind of out of that Batman vs Superman fight that we were promised. I got them beating the shit out of each other, including a amazing throwback to something that happens in the Avengers, the way that Hulk hurts Thor. That just had me laughing really hard. I'm like, okay, that was.
Oh yeah, with Loki watching.
Yeah, I thought that was. I thought that was hilariously well done. So I think my biggest problem with this movie, and it's funny because I think out of the three of us, I might like it the least. I saw this movie earlier this year, and it was called Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And I think my biggest complaint about this movie is that, Ragnarok, it's supposed to be the end of Asgard, the end of their world. And I think near the end, especially the last fight scene, it does feel dire at that point. But I think Guardians Volume 2 did a better job of balancing the seriousness of what was coming with the jokes. Mm-hmm. And I just thought this movie was a little too jokey.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I agree with that.
I never felt like there were for Asgard, and he mentions it several times. Hey, Asgard's in danger. Asgard's in danger, and I never really felt this sense of urgency to get back to Asgard to save your supposed home. By the way, and this has kind of irritated me too, the way they explain him breaking up, like him and oh god, what's her name? Jesus Christ. The girl from Black Swan. Why am I blanking on her name? Natalie Portman. Thank you. Her character Jane Foster. Thor's on Earth randomly. He's like, "Oh, I can't." And some random bystander's like, "Oh, I can't believe Jane broke up with you," and that's how they write it off. I went, "Okay, come on."
Oh, I didn't even catch that. Yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah, it's like a quick 5-second thing. Like, "Oh, cool, we addressed it."
Yeah, that's kind of too dismissive.
Yeah, and considering he would literally travel 1,000 miles for her, the fact that they just wrote it off like that, I thought was really dumb. Or the quote column really really dumb.
Maybe that many reallys. I don't know.
Yeah, for that I thought it should have been. And so I mean there was stuff I liked. There is an appearance by one of my man crushes, Benedict Cumberbatch. He returns as Doctor Strange. All that stuff was awesome. Seeing Loki be a punk ass and Doctor Strange just fuck with him made me really really happy. And it's going to be great to see them interact in Infinity War because next year. But I don't know. I think there is that middle section that you guys are kind of talking about where it does drag a little bit. This is the best the Hulk has looked. And the best that they've used the Hulk, in my opinion. They use him just enough. the Hulk is living like a pimp too, which I just found really funny. 'Cause
Yeah, it's cool to see his like personality.
yeah, so you do get the elements of Planet Hulk in here. I think the big thing though is that Planet Hulk is probably one of the best runs, if not the best run they've done with the Hulk. It's really it's a hell of a read if you haven't read it. I did like the way they got back to Bruce Banner in this movie. What kind of makes him change back to Bruce Banner, I thought was actually a nice touch, and for the upcoming Avengers movie does set up an interesting piece going forward. I don't know, man. I just really felt that for what this movie was saying it was, as far as with the end of a fucking realm, that it did just kind of go like, oh, we'll get there eventually. Colin, kind of your thoughts on like the middle
I
section?
thought one of the main points that you made that I really agreed with is that it was too jokey. It's trying too hard. It's not like subtle, and it doesn't flow kind of as well as either of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies have accomplished doing that same thing. It's funny. Like, I like the fact that it's not taking itself seriously. From the very get-go of this movie, he's falling down the chain, he's talking to the giant demon, and he's spinning around, and he's like, wait, I'll spin around once I get back around. And it just kind of sets the tone, like, this movie's going to kind of just be a little bit stupid. Like, it's just going to, like, not take itself seriously and have, like, kind of these funny moments that aren't dramatic at all. But I think it went too far. I agree with that point that you made. That I just the tone of the movie throughout a lot of the parts, like one of the main parts, like Hulk is about to like fall down and save the day, and he like hits the bridge and he's still Banner, and like, okay, so that got a huge laugh, but I was like, okay, that's kind of funny, but it's so stupid, like, and it just ruins like a very epic moment that could have just happened and been cool. Like, I get it, it's funny, people laughed. I didn't laugh as much as the idiot next to me. The idiot next to me was just like, that was the greatest joke that's ever been written. He was like dying on the floor, and I was like, dude, it was like slapstick. He just like fell in like this cheap joke in a moment that should probably have been like a little bit more, serious. So I thought the tone of the movie at times was really good, and it helped me just enjoy it because it was funny. But at times I thought it hurt the movie, and the movie could have been better if it took a little serious or like a more serious tone. Yeah. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, that's something that I definitely like came away with was the overuse of the jokes, and I feel like it's going to be kind of an overarching theme of this review, because I feel like that was a perfect example you gave of when the true climax of this movie, where they're all coming together, the Revengers are all coming together, which I thought was kind of a cute little thing that they did. And then it really takes you out of it, and I feel like a lot of this movie, because I laughed through a good portion of this movie. I thought, it's not that the jokes were bad, it's not that they didn't have substance to it, that no, they weren't thought out, but they were just, I don't think it was right. I don't think that a lot of them were, yeah, we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, everybody kind of had their place. Like Groot was definitely like, you knew what to expect as far as comic relief from him. Everyone kind of had their own niche, and I feel like you had all these different characters trying to jump in with a joke, and that's not what I really wanted from this, and it sounds like you guys didn't want that either. I wanted some serious... I never really felt this sense of dread from Hela. I felt like there was always this chance that, like, well, Thor's probably going to beat her, or she's going to get beat somehow. I never really got that sense of fear from her. And something I also wanted to touch on is the whole... I'm getting a little bit... for lack of a better word, tired of the whole Loki routine. I feel like his character is being overused in a way where his routine with Thor is the same, and they kind of touch on that within the movie. They kind of break the fourth wall bit, so to speak, by touching on how he tricks him, Thor trusts him, and then gets tricked by him. I don't know. I feel like a lot of this movie was a bit predictable as far as the characters went. And I wanted something a little more serious. I wanted something, didn't have to be dark, it didn't have to be void of all jokes and comedy, but there was just not something that going into it I really wanted out of this. What do you think, Hunter?
I mean, so Tom Hiddleston, I think, is just the thing is he's like old and reliable, right. I mean, he's almost like Nick Van Axel for Lakers back in the day, to give you guys a Laker reference.
I love Nick Van Axel. He used to shoot his free throws from like 6 feet back behind the free throw line. He was great.
Yeah, like you could always depend on Van Axel to get you, like 10, 12 points and like 5-6 assists and like 3 or 4 boards. Like Nick Van Axel's actually a damn good Laker, and whenever they need to kind of get a little humor, a little charm, they turn to Tom Hiddleston. I think that in this movie he's actually pretty fucking awesome. There's a throwdown between him and Tessa Thompson, who we saw in Creed, who plays Valkyrie here, and she doesn't get a whole lot of screen time. I really like her though, and what they gave her to do. She came across just jokey enough, but almost kind of like, I feel like Scott is kind of like at points where I'm so over this. Why are you guys here? Like he was like just kind of, like he was just enough of an asshole that
Are you talking about the chick that caught him?
There is.
Yeah, she was hilarious.
Yeah.
She was a drunk.
Yeah.
She reminded me of kind of like in the what was it, the Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling, when he was just like this bumbling drunk, but he was really good at his job somehow. I love that character. Mm-hmm. She was great. I loved her.
Yeah, and actually you see this flashback between her and Hela that actually was pretty fucking amazing looking, the way they did the CG.
When she was a Valkyrie.
I went, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is stuff to like here. Just to kind of get to my final thoughts here. I will say the after credit stingers, we're not going to spoil those here. The first one is really fantastic and sets up for Infinity War.
Why, Hunter? Why is it going to set up for Infinity War?
I'm not.
But I want to know.
Well, we'll talk.
Oh, poor listeners.
But,
you don't know what you're missing.
And then the second end credit scene kind of continues the tradition of Spider-Man after Spider-Man Homecoming. That last one was more of it for laughs, and that's what this one is too. But definitely stick through for the first one. But I don't know. I was sitting in the theater last night, and look, I laughed a lot. I laughed really hard at points. But to be honest, I did want to see Thor be a little more serious. I think towards the end, there's a point something happens to Thor near the end of the movie, and I went, shit, seriously? So it actually caught me off guard. I went, oh, okay, good for you. So, but by then it's a little too late as far as the tones. They do clash a little bit here, and I just felt more emotion with Guardians, which I think is a better version of this movie. So I'm going to give this a solid B. I still think I actually might like the original Thor better. I think the jokes here really do hit for the most part, but for me, it was a little too jokey. It was a little too slapstick for me. So I'm going to give it a solid B. Colin, your thoughts?
Yeah, so my main problems with this movie, I think I discussed that more than what I liked. I will say I liked that a lot of the tone of the movie was funny. So I know that was a big gripe of mine and all of ours, that it was too jokey at times, and that doesn't mean that a lot of the jokes aren't good. Like a lot of the times, like it's a funny movie. Like especially, like that was one of the things I really liked about Deadpool when Fox came out with that, was that it was not taking itself seriously. It was making fun of like the giant movie industry for comic books that Fox had going with X-Men, and it broke the fourth wall and things like that. And even this movie, like right when it starts, I really felt like it was kind of taking a page from Deadpool. It seemed like he was breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience as the movie started, but he was actually just talking to a skeleton, which was just like a funny way they worked around that. But for the most part, I liked the movie. I enjoyed it. I liked the way the story went. I liked the connections, how it tied together what Hulk's been doing since, Ultron till now, because he hasn't been in any other movies. So it's been 2 years, and I like the way they bridged that gap. I thought it was interesting the way that Thor interacted with his siblings as his father was dying. Like, of course, it takes like his dad dying for the sister to show up out of nowhere and try and claim the rights to all the inheritance. So I just thought it was a funny storyline to like put into this like intergalactic epic. It's just like, family drama when the dad dies. But for the most part, there was just too many things that like really held the movie down. The best part is the fight with Hulk and Thor. There was too much, like I already knew that was happening. There was too much down, like it was just too slow build up to that moment. They used the Immigrant song from Led Zeppelin a couple times, which they also used in the trailer, and I thought like if they hadn't have used that song in the trailer, they hadn't used that song at the start of the movie, and then they just do it when Thor starts getting all lightninged out and like ready to dominate, like that would have hit me so much harder than if it was like the third time I've just heard the song. You know what I mean? So there's like parts of the movie suffered where I feel like that big surprise, that big gotcha moment where it just like pumps you up. Things were more, they were dampened a little bit. So I liked it more than I didn't like it. It's not better than Spider-Man. It's not better than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's definitely the third of those three. And I'll give it a B+. Scott.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what both you guys are saying. I think I had more problems with, like, Thor's selective powers. I feel like the main theme with the Thor thread is his hammer and his powers. Like, are they gone? They're gone at one point and then they're back, or he's trying to find them or get them back. I couldn't really tell at any point if, like, when he was being captured at some point, he didn't have his power, and then at another point he did. I know there was like a little device he had that limited him, but I don't know, I couldn't really tell throughout if he was super strong or if he wasn't, or if he didn't have his hammer at one point, and if he was able to still conjure any abilities, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere he conjures this Super Saiyan, and which was badass. I will admit, I really love that, but to me it wasn't really like played out at all, and it was kind of unpredictable at certain points when he was going to do that or not. So that wasn't really, like, it kind of distracted me a little bit from the movie. Definitely the jokes I feel like the jokes hit, but they weren't really a right fit for this movie. We kind of talked about that a lot. And then, but kind of going back to what I liked about it, it was very, like, visually pleasing. A lot of the slow-mo that they did was really badass. Like, especially that final bridge scene. And like you said, with the music playing behind it, it really was building it up. I think they failed in that way, to fully build it up, but I liked that final bridge scene. I don't know, it didn't feel complete to me. I enjoyed myself. I think it's something that I would watch again. But if we're being real critical, it's definitely doesn't line up with a lot of the Marvel movies we've seen, this year, or maybe in the past 2 years or so. So yeah, I'm right along with you guys. Hunter, I agree 100%. I'm gonna give this one a solid B.
I know, I'm sure people are freaking out. What? Hunter gave something, a Marvel movie less than an A-?
Yeah, you gave it a lower score than me. I came in here saying, I think it's a B+, and then you gave it a B, and I was like, what? I thought you would have given it an A- at the lowest.
I thought you guys, I thought I was going to be the black sheep, so to speak, in this review. I thought I was going to be the one that didn't like it.
Yeah, I just didn't love it.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
I'll be honest, guys. I was sitting there in the theater, and I saw the Black Panther trailer, and I just went, I'm so hyped for that. That will be amazing.
That's going to be something we've never seen from Marvel before. It's going to be new and really exciting, I think.
Yeah, but this, I don't know. This felt like them kind of going, "Hey, we've pretty much failed with Thor, and we're taking it in this direction." And who's to say he gets out of Infinity War?
Can I just say, I forgot to say this. There's a to give the audience an idea of like the jokes. So at the beginning of this, one of the main guys, I don't even see his name on here. Here, Carl Urban. He is like, he's now the gatekeeper, and he's showing some girls all of his stuff. And one of the things that he has is the shake weight. And he's like shaking the shake weight. Like that, like it's so completely unnecessary.
That's
like,
cheap. That's cheap
movie,
laughs. Cheap laughs.
So cheap and
laughs.
dumb and very dumb. And that was early on, so I think that really set the movie.
That's a great point. That's why this movie could never get an A from me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. You know, I mean, I can't even. I can't.
I mean, it's gonna sound like, I feel like it sounded like we all like hated this movie, but it was like, I think we
gave it 2
expected
B's
so
and a B
much.
plus. We definitely didn't hate it. Like it just like Marvel, the standard is A or above.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, and I'll be honest, because I love Spider-Man: Homecoming so much and Guardians so much. Guardians for me proved that you can strike a balance between funny and serious and still have there be stakes, and I just never felt like the stakes were
and plus, as much as I love Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt's just better at this type of movie.
That is true, you know.
I agree.
Yeah, but guys, I'm curious because this is actually rated higher than Logan last I checked. It's like 94%.
Yeah, so overrated.
Audience and critics
Overrated.
both love this.
Yeah, I mean, because I had people saying it's better in Guardians 2, it's better in Homecoming. I'm like, it's not better than either of those. It's damn sure not better than Logan. So,
can we get, before this recording's over, we have to just give one more shout out to Idris Elba with his giant sword, just like doing some like Lord of the Rings style fighting. Out of nowhere, that was one of my favorite parts as well. That was when like the movie was really badass.
So Idris Elba plays Heimdall, who guards the Rainbow Bridge. I really wish they would do more with Idris Elba in this universe.
Dude, Heimdall's
really
a badass character.
Yeah, and he's
got sweet dreads too,
and a big ass sword.
Yeah, and they just. And okay, and last thing I'll say real quick, they got the Warriors 3. They always like help out Thor. They get killed off just so like, oh, you might as well be an extra, like you've been in the first 2 movies. But sword through the heart. All right, goodbye. And Jamie Alexander, who played Lady Sif, she wasn't even in this because Marvel reached out to her too late. So just little things like that just really bothered me. But so I think it's a good movie. But you're right though, the standard is so high at this point. But so yeah, go see it. But just I would say temper your expectations. But guys, what did you think of Thor? Where would you place this? Because some people have been saying this is the best Thor movie, and but let us know what you thought in the comments below. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow us here on SoundCloud, iTunes, Podbean, at The Real Pineapple.
The Real O'Neill.
On Twitter at. And you can like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple, and follow Scott on Twitter at
Newman the First.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this weekend for Stranger Things Season 2. Finally got done with it. I'm so stoked. And we will have an unfortunate review for Daddy's Home 2. God help us.
I'm excited.
On Friday. You shouldn't be. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.